Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Women's Fittest. My guest today is IFBB Pro Theresa Ivancik. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm super excited to have you on. I've been following you for a long time and you probably don't know this, but I did meet you at one point. Not like I didn't talk to you long enough, I don't think, to make an impression, but I did get a picture. I think it was it was in Pittsburgh, so it might have been at like the North Americans.
Probably. Yeah, we're always there. I tan with Olympia Tans. So we always sometimes if I do that, you'll never see me down below, but I'm always upstairs. But yeah, you probably saw me there at one point in time.
Yeah, I think this was probably, was it possible that you were competing? We're going to talk about your competition history, but would you have been competing at the North American?
Northern?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually did that show quite a few times, actually.
Okay. I think this was, I want to say maybe like 2016. Yes, I think it was 2016.
You might be correct because I did it in 2015. I think I did that in women's physique because I was getting frustrated at that point. And then 2016, I did do the Northern Americans and I lost by like a point again. So then that's whenever I actually made that transition that same year into a different coach. And we went to NPC Nationals. And that's when I earned my pro card.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, we're going to talk about that timeline a little bit. First, the question I love to start with is, what is your athletic background and what kind of sports did you play growing up as a kid? And then how did that transition into bodybuilding? I think epigenetics plays 90% of the time such a huge role, and there's a couple of outliers, but it's always interesting to me. So
yeah. I think like everybody has their own like background story. And that's what's so interesting because when you talk up to everybody, it's all walks of life. They all have a reason why. But, mine in particular, I was a very shy child. I didn't really do any sports or, really play anything about when I senior year, my junior and senior year, I actually got onto the dance team. I love to dance. So it was like the kick team. We did, all the parades and half times and all that stuff. And then after college, it was like, what now? What do you do? And then I developed an eating disorder, early on going into, work and school and all that stuff at that same time. So I was in this huge funk. And then I got introduced to a Oxygen magazine at a work that I was at. It was a local gym. And the mailman delivered it and I looked at it and I was like, holy crap. I was like, I want to look like that. And it was just like, I started just doing a lot of my own research because back then, like we didn't have social media. It was, your dial up internet and all that stuff. So I was seeking, I think, fitness to actually find a different kind of addiction to get me out of bulimia without getting that professional help. And long story short, I did it, and then that kind of branched off into the whole bodybuilding industry, into my first, show, which was actually figure. And I did that for a few times. Then I was like, oh, my body, I want to train. I want to go heavy. So I started, doing the bodybuilding in 2010.
Did you have somebody at like a gym that was able to teach you a little bit more about bodybuilding? Because so I'm 45. So I grew up with the same with the magazines and stuff like that. And the workouts in the magazines, even though you had like Nicole Wilkins and Amanda Latona a lot of times on the cover, it was still like, I don't think the emphasis, and it's still a struggle now to try to convince women to go heavy because in the magazines, you didn't get that emphasis on effort. It was all like, three sets of 10 to 15 reps.
Yep.
I just don't remember hearing that, like, still go hard. You know what I mean? Yep. Yeah.
But back then, I mean, it was, Jamie Eason, she was one that I like, Monica Brandt, like all those girls, and then you got I feel like it's almost like a bikini and wellness type workout for actually a figure competitor, in terms of how hard, these divisions train now. And, we didn't even know about drop sets or supersets or, failure rounds or positives and negatives. Like none of that was talked about. It was like really cookie cutter, like, exactly like you said, you're going to do chest, back, arms, whatever. And then these are the workouts that you do. So it was, I think, a lot of just more research. Again, there was no forums. So I talk to people, in the local gym and stuff. And then that's actually how I got introduced to my fiance, because he had a different gym and I wanted to go down, and I talked to him. They're like, go to him. He'll do the figure competitions with you. And I talked to him, and it was, you need to eat. And then that's when I ran. Like, I didn't talk to him for 6-7 years because I didn't want to eat. I thought that not eating would keep you leaner, and not understanding that the whole fuel thing, gains the muscle and eats off the fat.
Yeah.
So it was just so, I think back then, like there was so much misinformation, and we were just kind of guessing.
Well, and I think back to those magazine articles, the diet was more like a prep diet, but the workout was like, this is what you need to do to build muscle. And,
Yep.
Because I remember thinking, oh, these meals are very small portions. It was very much, how you would do a prep with the oatmeal for breakfast, and three or four meals that are, with your 2 shakes that are like chicken and vegetables and rice, but the portions are so small. Like,
Yep.
It was definitely a good, clean cutting diet, but not one that you would build muscle on, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. That's what I think over the years, like, we don't even look at that in the bodybuilding industry on the time lapse of where we literally came from, because again, everybody gets so stuck in the ways of what is today and what we see right now, but we forget the whole history of like how in the heck we learned all this stuff. I've been doing this year will be my 15th year competing. From when I started to what I'm doing now, I was like, oh my God, if I would have only known, all this stuff 15 years ago, where would I be? That's what's crazy. So a lot of these newer competitors kind of like skipped all that hard backbone work, and they get it handed to them like right on a platter and have no idea.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was thinking about, is the up and comers now are doing, 8 years of work in 3 years time, because they're spending all of this. We were doing, I don't know what your training was like at the beginning, but I was a lot of volume training. It was a lot of, which is fine at the beginning. You build muscle kind of regardless of what you're doing, as long as you're doing enough.
Yeah.
But, I know that this is something I definitely want to talk about, but I know you had the privilege of being coached by John Meadows, and he is still someone, when I have how am I going to program this, or what am I thinking about, doing something with a program or a client, and I think, like, what would John do? I'll go back and watch some of his videos. They're gold. Like, it's just priceless. The practical information that he would provide for training. But it's like you said, all the stuff that we didn't know about,
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's why these coaches are out there, and that's why you got to find the one that like you match, with. And I was like so nervous to even text him, like, or message him, because I didn't know, like, would he take me on? Would he not? Like, I didn't know. So him and I right out of the gate ended up having this super strong like relationship, and the emails came back, and we emailed back and forth. Like, one night I was sitting in bed with my fiance, and I was talking to John Meadows for like a half hour through email, and it was just like, okay, hey, we'll get this going, start next week, here's my email, here's my platform, here's how we're going to do this. And then once, he finds out more that I'm more local, then it was like, okay, I want to see you, once or twice, a month. And then you can come down here. And every time you come, I want you to book 2 days. We're going to train 2 days. And I remember the first time I actually like walked into the gym, I actually screwed the days up. He wasn't there. He never works on a Sunday. I show up at this gym and they're like, John's not coming. Like, I know he's not coming. So I text them and we got all the days mixed up. It's a long story, but anyway, he comes in the next day and I'm like shaking. Like, I'm so nervous just because of who he is. It was just like, he's a phenom, like he's the guru of the fitness industry. And, I think like the workouts that he put me through, it was an eye opener, because it's like, again, everybody sits there and does like 3 to 4 sets. He was like maybe sometimes 6, sets as a whole, but only 1 working set. Yeah. So he worked yourself up to find what was going to be hard, and then gave you 1 or 2 sets to do with that. And it was just like, and he trained with you. So it was like, it was intense, the one time I thought I was going to quit legs on us because we were just dying. But he's just an all over good guy. If you ever downloaded his routines, his workouts, they are like a novel. Like, one day is like 3 pages long, because he's got every single detail there. And then he has links to actually go to his YouTube, so you know exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yep. Yeah. I was just looking at that because I have one of his programs that actually, no, I have two of his programs, and one of which I did have printed off. I think it was 200 pages.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I did too. I had to print that. Oh, I know.
Yeah, what
Yep.
are we doing here? The detail is incredible, which is, I mean, of course, because you're paying a couple $100 for, you know, this program. But yeah, I mean, he went above and beyond with all those things. But this is something too that I've learned with training over the last couple of years as well. And I'm sure that I'm curious about your training style and what you've incorporated, but it is, you get to a point where once you have become efficient with the movement, you do only, you know, I tend to do one or two top sets or a top set and a back off set, because when you are efficient and you're putting the effort into it, you like, if you did more than that, you wouldn't have anything left for, you know, your last exercise or two or whatever. So it just really made me think about like training and stuff like that. And it's a good way to evaluate where you are with your training, when you can assess like what you're capable of doing. Because if you can train for an hour and a half, you're not putting enough.
No. Yeah. I mean, you're overtraining. Like, you should be tapped the hell out by 45 minutes, you know, or you're talking too much, you're playing on your phone, you know, it's that kind of thing, you know. And it's if you can sit there and you're just doubting yourself, if you need to be there for 5 to 6 different sets to get it done, you know, you should be able to justify like where your weight's going to be. And then, you know, that's your starting point. And then you go from there. You know, I know we were all valuable. Like back in the day, it was like everything that I do, I have to have 4 sets. They have to be good sets. You know, I'm not walking out this gym knowing I could have done more. And then you end up saying you overtrain and then you get nowhere, you know? So it's like, it's one of these things that like more is not better here. Like less is better.
That transition from going from volume to being less volume and more effective was a lot of burning the house down, where you're just like, God, I'm so tired. I can't even, you know, your central nervous system just is like, you have the flu or something. You're like, I can't go back to the gym tomorrow. I don't have anything to give. So
I think that's like where most, like, I mean, I think even like amateurs, if you look at, you know, where we started, you go in the gym, we just use lat pull downs as an example. You go in there and you say, I'm going to do like 3 sets of, you know, 10, 12, 15, 20, whatever it is that day. But then you have to look at how you did it. Just whipping it up, pulling it down, whipping it up, pulling it down. And then you go back and, you know, to where we are today. And it's like, okay, I stretch my lats the whole way up. I squeeze and flex on the bottom. I mean, there's a huge, huge difference. And I emphasize that a lot on the people that I train, and they're advancing a heck of a lot more than just your standard, you know, lat pull down.
Yeah. And I think this goes back to a lot of what you said. What I love about the internet is, I mean, the training concepts and the coaches that are available providing great information has blown up in the last probably 5 years. People are like, oh, I can put valuable, I mean, if you have an injury, you know, I have tons of physio people I follow who are like providing great stretching and rehab type information. It's like, it sucks that there's a whole side of people that are still doing the stuff you saw 10 years ago when workouts were first coming out, that are like, you know, the kickbacks with the bands and the other stuff. It's like, there's really great coaches providing really great information out there. And you know, it's like, do you follow this person? And like half the women are like, I don't even know who that person is. You don't know who John Meadows is. Start.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Like, I mean, because those are like home workouts, you know, like, I mean, I started with Billy Blanks. Okay. He was like the number one guy that I had, double time, whatever. I mean, and it was like, I would do that and then I would run and I would do abs. And then like, I had a weeder machine in my parents' basement. So I started using that. And then I started following Kathy Friedrich.
Yes.
She did all the in-home workouts that, I mean, I'll tell you what, I was so sore from doing those things, but she used weights, she used bands, she used everything. And her workouts were really, really good for home.
Yep. Yeah. I loved her. I used her. I mean, I started out with Jane Fonda workouts that I would get from from the library. But I mean, the evolution, I did Beachbody for a while. Obviously, you know, you understand that those are the type of things that they'll help you lose body fat, but they don't build
Yep.
muscle, you know?
Yep. I mean, I use this as an example too, because I mean, I've done it. I worked at a local gym. I left because I was working with somebody else. We were building and renovating. So we actually had to go back to that gym. Now, the same girls were still doing aerobics class 10 years later, and they still look the same because like the nutrition's completely off. There's nothing being taught there. And a lot of the people, the same thing, that are in and out of the gym, God love them. They are dedicated to all hell and back, but they're not putting the food in there, you know. And I hate seeing so many people like run in and out of the gym, but they got that part of the dedication, but it's just like the food part that most don't understand.
So I have taught this glute and ab class off and on, which I like because it's a lot of the stuff that's mobility things that I hate to do.
Mhm.
But I also, the class was kind of hit or miss. And so it's been a go or it petered out. But I would have women showing up for this class and like, I have to sit, like, I feel faint. I don't feel good. Like, did you eat anything before you came in here? No, have you drank any water? It's just like, these are, I mean, I hear this even with women who are training fasted in the morning, which I honestly could never do, but
No, and no.
but
Cardio is one thing, weight training, no.
oh, you would, yeah, I can't, but you tell them, they're like, well, this works out fine for me. And it's like, okay, but it's not optimal. But if this is the only time that you can train, I would say like down a 20-ounce Gatorade or something, and maybe a protein shake to get your liquids.
Yep, that's exactly what I would do. I said, if you don't have time to eat it, mix a shake, like put some fruit in there and drink it on your way to the gym. Like get something in your stomach. It's just it's like you're beating a dead horse. Like you cannot explain that to some people. They get so set in their ways. But how we approach them is like, if what you have been doing hasn't been working, it's time to try something different.
Right.
And actually get the result that you want, and just put your guard down and be open to trying something different. If it doesn't work and you don't like it, give it a good month. But if it doesn't, then go back to what makes you happy.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, cause like I said, kudos to them. I mean, sometimes I'm jealous of people that are able to wake up in the morning and go get a workout in and just have it done. But I don't have the energy. I don't have enough meals in. It's just, I feel like I get half the workout that I got if I had done it at, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. That's what I think that people need to understand. Like, find out what works best for you. Put your pre-work post workout around those times. And like, I have clients that have to juggle certain times, one time at their early morning or one time they're late at night, and we'll laugh. We'll be like, okay, you suck in the morning. Like, we're not doing the morning ever again. I mean, because the body, like everybody's body is programmed so different and wired so different that some need more food in their system before they actually train, and some need minimum, food in the system.
Yeah. And I think that's a timing thing as well, because I mean, people always have an excuse, and they'll be like, well, I remember this lady for the class, she was like, well, I can't eat right before I come in. I'm like, well, I don't want you to eat right before you come in either, like hour and a half, but the water, I mean, downing at least 16 ounces of water, 15 minutes before you're going to go train.
I try to have a liter in before I even leave the house in the morning, because if not, you're not getting the gallon in. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
I know. And and people go with the minimum, 8 cups a day, or they'll think they drink a lot because they'll have, it's like, I always have like a 22 whatever ounce, and it's like, but I fill it up 4 or 5 times, so.
But then people don't justify, do you put ice in it?
Right.
Like, drink the ice. Like, I mean, there's a lot of like, how much are you actually drinking? So you say maybe 8, are you really drinking 4? So there's a lot of, ups and downs with that.
Yeah. When somebody says that they drink a cup of water, it's a cup, but if they're drinking a cup of wine, that it's a bottle.
Oh yeah, exactly. Well, it's like, even we'll go out to eat, and like, if I can't eat because I'm on prep, and like, I'll get a water. But it's so hard because then you're like, oh no, I don't want to drink that water. I'll just give me a glass of ice. I'll pour my water in there, because you don't know how much you're drinking. Like, you get obsessive over it.
You like when you do your prep, are you to the T with everything? Like this is a
Yeah.
question I always ask. Have you ever cheated on a prep? Have you ever had a, just like lose your mind, stress, something?
Like if I have to say like I cheated, it would literally be like, okay, I need a table of peanut butter now because
Yeah.
like my blood sugar levels are dropped. I need something in me now before I pass out. But I can't honestly say that I was like, no, I'm gonna go get Wendy's or something just to say, screw it. I can't say I've ever gone that far. If it was anything, it was like, okay, I'm gonna steal a rice cake or add an extra piece of peanut butter because I maybe expended more or I was doing more activities outside that I felt I was not saying I was making an excuse to do it, but I felt that my body really needed it. And I'm pretty much in program with my body now, but
Yeah.
it's the same thing at this level, who's coming and darn well, these people aren't cheating. So I think that always just sits in the back of your head. Like if you do it, you're going to lose, and I told the story before. I had a client and she was going for a pro card and stuff and then a pro show. And she asked me, it's my birthday, can I have a cupcake? And I said, well, that tastes like second place. So you make the call. I don't know if you want to eat it or not, but I want it. Just wait till the show's over.
Right. It doesn't matter that much. Yeah, you have to
Mm.
think about what your competition is doing. I remember I asked John Jewett one time if he ever cheated on a prep, and it reminded me of what you said because you are so in tune. Like you could tell too when your blood sugar is dropping,
Mhm.
and you're like, I'm gonna have to do something, or this is gonna be, a problem.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, I had an extra muffin one time, and he was like, it was just because I knew that I could have an extra muffin.
Mhm.
I needed that extra muffin.
Mhm.
So it was, he's like, I was supposed to have one and I had two. And I think he was working with Matt Jansen at the time. And he was like, I
Yeah.
don't think I even told him because
Yeah.
I knew what I needed to do. So, but he just like, I don't consider that cheating because I was evaluating my situations.
Yeah. There was one guy that, I got told the story by John. He had a guy, I can't remember the guy's name, but he didn't do very well. And John's very, very, very particular about any program that he does. Well, the guy didn't do very well. And then everybody started like knocking John. Like they just started the negative comments straight to him saying he doesn't know what he's doing, blah, 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 blah. Well, like, I guess like a couple months afterwards, this dude actually came up to John and was like, you know what? I just have to be honest with you. I was having cheeseburgers and fries every single night on my prep. But the general public that was knocking John for being a crappy coach didn't know what this kid did. And he finally came out and admitted it. But like it hurts. That stings because like as a coach, I'm putting everything I can into my people. And if I don't know what you're doing, I feel like I suck because I take everything I do like such heart. And I feel like I did something wrong, So like we hurt whenever people lie, but it's just that's what happens, And I'd rather honestly know the truth because then I can fix it. Just be honest with me and I'll make adjustments or we'll pull some things down, for the next couple of days to balance things out. But when you lie about it, we can't get you the end result.
Yeah, I know. And I can understand with some of the bigger coaches, it's probably more intimidating to be like, I messed up here,
Yeah.
with like lifestyle and stuff, people, I'm like, this is how you learn how to get through life. You know what I mean? You make mistakes or, whatever you thought you needed it, or you enjoyed this event, but you have to like, as a coach, be like, there's no shame in telling
Mhm.
me that you didn't stick to the diet because like you said,
Mhm.
I can't make the correct changes if I don't know what really happened. So
I tell them the same thing. Like and you would know, like if I'm having somebody check in, just be honest with me because if you do not, I'm going to make the wrong changes on your diet and you could go south real quick. So
right.
it's like, let's just work together. I'm not a mean person. I like to be strict on things, but if you're just open and honest, I think the biggest thing that most lack in terms of like being a coach and having is communication.
Yes.
Have strong communication with whoever you're working with.
Yeah.
I'll even ask my clients like, how's your bowel movements? You know what I mean? What color's your pee? Like, are we drinking enough? Because these are all indications because the body speaks to you and it's, we choose not to listen half the time. But these are very, very informative things that sometimes coaches need to know, even though some may think it's too much TMI. But I mean, it does help us, and especially women's on a hormone level. That those, play a big effect, like whether we're on, we're off, and what we need to do at those times.
Being in tune with your body is like like you said, I think it's something too that you can learn from working with a coach to be aware of these signals. Because I mean, it blows my mind with, women who like don't know, their menstrual cycles or don't keep track of that, or, like when you're having symptoms, you're like, oh, I can tell like my period's coming early or something like that. It's just, yeah, the lack of awareness also leads me to believe that these are people that don't really know what it feels like to feel healthy either, because they assume that feeling like crap is what everybody feels like, and it's not how you have to live.
Yep. I have a girl, love her to death. I've been with her forever. She has blown my mind. She has AFib. We've had many, many hiccups. She's had open heart twice. I took her from almost pretty much suicidal to being okay with knowing that whatever the doctors say, don't always listen to them. Listen to yourself. You know yourself more, to being very, very thin, to now almost my little midget bodybuilder, like she is stacked and packed on like so much weight, but you can do anything you want if you put your mind to it, and the communication levels between us are like, I'm not feeling good today, or I need to get off this medication, or something's not working, and I'm no doctor, but we have to have, big on those communication levels and see what foods will work with her and what won't. What do we need to get off and what don't we, but it's just, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think what you said is 100%. The hardest clients to work with are the ones that are like, yeah, no, I'm fine.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. You can either tell through the pictures and the facial expressions or the way they type the email to you whenever they go to check in, and I've done it before. I've asked them what's wrong, like, are you stressing? Because stress is a huge factor. And I mean, I actually experienced this past week or 2 weeks, I think, ago with my coach. I said, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, my stress level has been through the roof. We're trying to expand the gym. I said, it's not that I ate like shit, but I haven't eaten at all. Like, I'm not going to check in until I get 3 days back, because I checked in the one time I had 4 hours of sleep. I gained 4 pounds. And then the next day I checked the scale, I dropped 4 pounds. So it's like, again, you have to be honest when you're doing these check-ins, because if he thinks I gained 4 pounds from the diet that he's on, then he's going to take my food away, and it's really not needed. keep my food in. I'll sleep,
Oh my gosh, sleep is, and this is stuff you learn from coaching over time, is like the questions to ask, the information that might not be there. But I mean, I had a client before too that was working. He was like a swing shift worker, which is very difficult to manipulate your physique when you're not sleeping normal sleep hours. But like he wasn't having breaks from work, like 3 days off, like every month. And I was just like assuming, so like, can you imagine working 7 days a week for a week on end?
No.
Nothing is going to progress.
No.
Like, why is nothing changing with this person's physique?
You probably didn't even know about it either.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you think like what you're doing is wrong.
I know. You're like, I should quit. I can't do it.
Yeah, that's why I do it all the time, because then I'm like, okay, I'm getting really stupid. Like something's just not jiving. Like I lost my shit. Like I don't know what the heck I'm doing anymore. And I was like, maybe I need to just back off, but that's usually what happens.
Yeah. You're like, what aren't you telling me? Yeah, it's very detective work sometimes. So
it is.
But when you succeed and when they succeed, that is priceless. It's absolutely priceless. Yeah.
I mean, I know you, it's just the feeling of you sitting in the audience, and you have this, your client up on stage and you're watching them and you get emotional, because you're like, that's like mine. Like we did that together. You know what I mean? And that's like, it's like your child, and it's, I don't know, like you can't explain that to anybody unless you've gone through it, but it just makes you feel like so good because you actually help someone else out, and I know that the feeling has been insane crazy when I get them pro, and I have like, I think like 4 of them, 4 or 5 now that turned pro just recently. And it's just like, that to me, it's just like, it took me 10 years to get that, and I have some that are getting them in 2 shows. I have one girl, we did our first show together. We won first place. Second show, she goes pro. And then our third show, she did her pro show and cracked the top 5, in women's bodybuilding. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. I always appreciate the overcoming of like the food relationship type stuff, because that's always, I can relate to what you said, having a past history of bulimia and that being a struggle. Like when
Mhm.
you are able to walk somebody, and it's not like I'm taking on people with severe eating disorders, but a lot of emotional eating and being able to share through experience and just continuing to educate yourself is like, it's priceless. Because when
Mhm.
I had a girl who went through 16 weeks of coaching, and I think maybe ended up losing about 10 pounds of body
Mhm.
fat, but it was about, she was like, I'm going to leave this and know how to move forward in my
Mhm.
life with a good
Yep.
relationship with food. And I
Yep.
was like, you wings,
Yep.
like you're awesome.
Yep. That's everybody. That's why the journey is so different for everybody. Some want to compete, some don't. Some just want to learn. Some I mean, these older adults that I have, they just want to get off the couch and crawl around on the floor with grandkids. I mean, but that generation there, they will be happy drinking 5 cups of coffee a day and not eat, and they're good to go. I mean, I just wish there was more education too for those older adults, because we do have a good amount, at our gym and stuff, but education wise on the food and the water, because they don't realize they fall, you can crack a bone so quick, but if you actually have muscle to you and great nutrition, you fall, you're going to bounce right back up. You know what I mean? You're going to keep going. But it's just so important, but from all different levels, from kids to teenagers to us. I mean, we all have a certain level of purpose that we need to get in terms of the nutrition side, and I feel like it's lapsed, especially a lot in kids in sports. I feel like they're not, because we train a lot of those kids, and they are coming to us from school pretty much unfed. They're not eating, or they went right from school to after school practice and they're coming to train, but there's no food, there's no backup, there's no nutrition. These kids are wiped out you know
I mean, I remember this from high school. A lot of times we'd go to get donuts a lot of times
Mhm.
between
Yeah.
school and swim practice. It was like, yeah, or I remember, I mean, that's in high school when I struggled with eating disorders, and I would drink like a juice box before swim
Yeah.
practice,
Yeah.
before a 3-hour swim practice,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know. And
I
it
just feel like take out, like, where you got your gym class and your health class. I mean, a big portion of that should be bringing someone for nutrition. I mean, because that's something that everybody needs regardless. But if you can teach them at that younger age where they're going to understand it, I mean, I just feel like that. I mean, that's your life. I mean, that's how you live. That's how you keep muscle tissue. That's how you stay healthy, keep your immune system up, and that's just going way under the radar.
Well, and it goes back to what you said about like what's on the internet. People find
Hmm.
something, whoever is loudest, and they're thinking,
Hmm.
"This is what I'm supposed," or whatever's trendy. I mean,
Yep.
diets follow these 10-year trends. I mean, in the last
Yep.
couple of years, how many people have gotten into fasting and like and being like
Cleansing.
cleansing,
Yeah.
vegan, and being vegan. I
Yep.
mean, the lack of protein to me
Yep.
is mind-boggling as well. It's like, what do you think muscle comes from? Like,
Yep.
you
Yep.
can't not be eating protein. And fasting with women, that's like, I
See,
get it, you don't want to overeat, but you're really making your life and you're difficult with your hormones and
yeah,
everything.
I mean, like how we tell people this is like literally your body eats every second of the day. Whether you feed it or you don't feed it, it does. So if you don't feed it, it's going to come from muscle tissue. So when you do feed it, you're going to keep your muscle tissue, and that's going to go over and eat the fat.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, muscle weighs more than fat. So when people aren't eating and the body's actually eating off muscle, they get on the scale thinking they lost 5 pounds, but guess what? You lost 5 pounds of muscle. So it's very hard to determine that with people, to understand you're losing your main source. You're going to wake up tired, fussy, grumpy, and the whole work because you're eating off muscle tissue all night long. Because most won't eat after 5 or 6 or have anything before they go to bed, actually meal wise. And then the cycle just keeps continuing.
And a lot of the literature shows that when you're sleep deprived, the body goes for that muscle,
Mhm.
regardless of whether you're feeding it in or not. So, and how
Yep.
many people are sleep deprived? We live in this stressed out, anxiety
Mhm. Yeah.
world. So,
And I told a lot of clients too, if and we picked, I don't know, a big audience, actually, like just take a concert of people. and you line them all up, we all look the same. We all have the same muscle tissue underneath. It's just how we want to detail it and how much protein and how much nutrients and how many carbohydrates. Like, we sculpt our own body, but we all look exactly identical underneath the flesh of the skin. You know, it's just how we choose to enhance.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I mean, speaking of building muscle, so let's get back to your,
Okay.
your prep history. I know I love talking about just, yeah. And I mean, this is valuable information too, because I don't think you can hammer home enough just the basic guidelines to being healthy and building muscle. And
It's not just for prep people. This
no,
is for everyday people. You do not have to be in competition in order to be healthy and eat this way. You know, that's what it is.
well, and this is, I mean, this is part of the reason why I love doing the podcast. This is why I love doing it, you know, retired from competing at my age. There, you know, so much has happened in the last couple of years, just going through, you know, changes in training, programming, and everything, like you said, to be able to stay in the game as far as being bodybuilding in the gym and continuing to keep and preserve and possibly build muscle for now until the rest of my life. Like, I don't want to be that person who's 70 trying to avoid falling because you know, I'm afraid I'm gonna break my hip or whatever. Yeah.
Longevity.
Yeah, it is absolutely. And I think that's what people need to understand, is that you don't just figure it out, you're constantly figuring it out, because your environment changes, your physique changes, your age changes, everything's changing. So
metabolism, everything. Yeah.
Yes. So so you did your first show in figure. What year was that?
2008 or no, 2007.
Okay. And how was that first show for you? How did that go?
So I just leaked that kind of information out that I talked about. I was actually on house arrest prior to that. I had 3 DUIs. I had 155 days on house arrest. And that's where I kind of like took that knowledge that I got from the Oxygen magazine. And I was like, I'm setting the school. And there actually ended up being a show the day after I would get off. Well, being on probation, you're not allowed to leave, you know, your county. They made an exception because they knew what I was trying to do. So I actually had found a friend to drive me there because I didn't have a license for 7 years after that. Took me over to this show. And I just remember being so freaking nervous, you know, getting up there on the stage. I learned everything from the internet. I learned how to pose. I ordered a suit. I didn't know what it was supposed to look like or how it was supposed to fit. Like, I didn't know anything about this tanning stuff. So we ordered products off the internet and learned how to do the coats of the tanning. Oh God, it was a mess. And we go up there and I just remember being so nervous. But back then there was like nobody competing. So it was like, I was the only one in my class and I got first, obviously, but it was just nerve wracking. You know, it was the first song that went out to was like, I'm bringing sexy back. And I was like, really? Like, how am I going to do this? You know, but it was just like, you just remember being up there and shaking so bad and then coming off. And then you're like, okay, I'm ready I want to do that again. You know? And then that's when I got in with Jeff. I actually started talking to him again after I left him, my fiance. That's when we did the one show in Pittsburgh, not the Northern Americans. It's called Mr. Pittsburgh, but it's at the Memorial Hall, the Soldiers and Sailors Memorial Hall. But we did that in 2008. And then the too many girls, and I wanted to lift heavy. I knew where my genetics, you know, could take me. And that's when we took 2009 off and then went into bodybuilding in 2010.
Okay. So you went straight into women's bodybuilding.
Yeah. Well, back then, remember, we only had 2 divisions.
Yeah.
I mean, we were smaller, we were big. So, and I was like, I don't like this heel thing. And I don't like all this stuff that goes with it. I want to pose. I want to do a routine. Like, I just fell in love with bodybuilding, lifting heavier, you know. Actually, that's really what helped me out of the eating disorder, because it was like, okay, I need food for fuel. I need to grow. And that made it okay for me to gain weight. So that was kind of like my Band-Aid to getting out of it.
Yeah, that's very relatable. I think, I had the same thing. I was a cardio bunny and then started getting into weight training. And it was almost like you couldn't stop yourself. Like, you were hungry after you trained and then you would eat. And then you're like, well, I guess I'll do it again tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it did absolutely help break the cycle of, you know, any kind of, you to overeat and you just be like, it's okay. It'll be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Then it got to the point you were like, okay, I can't get off the couch. We got to do something about this. Because I went from like 120 to 180, like quick. And I was like, no, dude, like something has to stop. I'm done.
Oh my word. Were you a solid 180 or?
It was like water, fluff, and stuff like that. Because I didn't know how much to balance the water and sodium back then, so it was just like, I don't know, just being young and dumb,
You were 180 on stage?
No, this was like right after figure, and I took that year off before I went into women's bodybuilding. I was just eating and training, and I just went straight up, But yeah, it was bad. It wasn't pretty. My cheeks were super puffy. Couldn't bend over to touch my shoes. Like, it was bad.
Oh my word. Well, I think that happens too after that recovery process is a little bit messy,
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So, so you got into bodybuilding first competition, 2010.
Mm-hmm. And that was actually with my pap. My pap was 83 at the time, and his dream was to be the oldest, strongest man. And I asked him if he would do it, and he ended up saying, no, I'm not, no. And literally 2 weeks after I asked him, he's like, that thing you were asking me, he's like, I want to do it. And I was like, okay. So we got him an NPC card. We waived some fees for him because this is just a dream, that was happening. And the one number rule that I asked was, can he please be in like running shorts and not Speedos? So they let him go up there because he didn't want to. I mean, he was just not having the Speedo thing. So we got him up there on with running shorts, and they posed him with the 50-year-olds because there was nobody in his class at 80. And he did his thing, and we actually got him a special award for most motivational, and that changed that man's life. And it's sad that it happened at 83, but he came out of a shell that man was stuck in for a very long time after that show.
Who is this to you?
This is my pap. This was my pap. We lost him at 91, but this was him at 83. Yeah.
Is it a grandfather?
Yeah, it's my dad's dad.
Okay. I'm not familiar with the term, so.
Yeah. Yep. This is my grandpa.
Well, I mean, it kind of tells you like it's never too late to follow a dream, right?
Yep. We started getting him into deadlifting and all that stuff, after that. But it was just something that I think that, again, same thing, like you can reach down and bring people up. You know what I mean? Once you get to a certain point, you just inspire. And then all he would do every single day, he would come into my gym and he would inspire all these young kids and tell them like not to give up. He didn't even know them. And he was just walking up to him and saying, hey, don't give up, keep going. And everybody loved him. Everybody loved him.
I think that's so awesome. I've said this a few times, but I just feel like regardless of whether you like bodybuilding or you approve of the sport or you like women with muscle, when you see somebody accomplish something, if it doesn't inspire you to think I can do anything and anything is possible, then I just think, gosh, there's something wrong with you because, somebody else's dream should, if you can't appreciate it, I mean, come on.
Yep. But there's still a lot of things today, like the higher up you go, the better you do, the more successful you are, the more people run away from you, and then you're still, that's what they always say, fly alone, because like everybody's like, they get to that point of jealousy and then they just don't support no more, so there's just like, it kind of teeters back and forth,
I think that's a lot of the people that know you though. I think you're, it's like the random strangers are like the most supportive.
Yep, they are. I just saw a post actually last night, and it was like somebody has an account with a business account and then the regular account, and one has colleagues, friends, family, and everything, and she had like 12 likes. This one was geared more towards women with the same things and same interests that she liked. She had over 1,000 likes and over like 100 comments, and it was right in front of your face, and that was just what we're talking about.
Yeah. It absolutely is. I was reminded of, I think John always used to say, one of his favorite quotes was that one by Aristotle, the only way to avoid criticism is to do nothing, say nothing, be nothing. I think it was really something that drove him because, I mean, he didn't seem to get a lot of criticism. I mean, if you don't like John Meadows.
Yeah. He got to the point that he was just going to do whatever he wanted. He didn't care what anybody said. He didn't look at the comments anymore because they were just, it didn't bother him. In the beginning, he said it did, and he let it eat at him. And then over time, he was like, you know what? These people don't really mean anything to me. If they want to follow me, that's great. But at the same time, I'm going to do what I want, if they don't like it, they can leave,
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about earning your pro card. How did that go about?
So after we started competing in 7, I switched coaches, and then I ended up going into, so I was with all that other coach, Oli up the time being, and we were learning and I was learning. And then I had got suggested to make a change with a coach, and I did. And the first one thing when I talked to him, he was like, I promise you one show, pro and done, and I'm like, oh, come on, you're full of shit. We did it. I mean, we did, and we trained super, super hard. Everything was a lot different. He was more keto, and I talked to a lot of people that I've done everything. I've done carb cycling, I've done no fat, and I've done fat and no carbs, you know what I mean? So I've had all different types, but we decided to do keto that time, and it pulled me in enough, especially in the leg area, where most women hold, that I ended up earning that pro card. And that was one of the moments where it was like, that was one of the dreams that I had on my list. In the beginning, I wanted to be a trainer, did that. I wanted to own my own gym, did that. And then the last thing on the list was, I want to be a pro. And then we just kept working and working and working, no matter how many times I was just going to show up until, I actually earned it. I didn't want it handed to me. I wanted to earn it, but I did earn it. It was 2016. And then right literally after that, I got in with Wings of Strength. This was right when Wings of Strength was really starting to bring that upbringing. And it was in 2017, I immediately went and did my pro show. But in that time being, as soon as I turned pro, I got an invite by Wings of Strength to go to the mansion. And it was with 10 bodybuilders. And I looked at my fiance, I'm like, I'm not good enough to do this. There's no way. I mean, I just turned pro. Hella's going to be there. Alina's going to be there. Linda Murray's going to be there. Like, these girls have been, there's no way. I don't even know if I can accept this. He's like, you're going. He's like, end of story, you're going. So when we went there, it was actually for a B-Reel to do a reality show called Buff Dynasty. And I was so nervous. I remember Linda Murray walking in a room and I'm shaking. Alina is my idol. Like, I followed her from day one, just like, Jamie Eason and Monica Brandt and all them. This was for bodybuilding, and she was there. I don't even know how to talk to these people, but it was, the way they are. And when they say Iron Sisters, they mean Iron Sisters. It's all or nothing, you're going to get us all, but they were so nice. It was the best time. And right after that, it was just, I was with Wings, and then I did my pro debut in Norfolk, and that qualified me straight to the Rising Phoenix, because we didn't have the Olympia. So that was in 2017. And then I finally took 18 off, and then 19, I won Chicago Pro. I won Norfolk Pro. I won in 2019, and I took second in 2017.
Okay. So then I think in the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 months, you had kind of decided to make a switch again, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I won Chicago in 2020, and then I went to the Olympia the year it was back, which was completely epic. It was another dream of mine, and that we did. And then I was told by several of the judges at that time that were at the Olympia that it was time for me to come down. I'm always a lot smaller. I always compete around 150, 155, and these girls that are at the Olympia status are in their 80s, 180s. So it's very, very hard. There's a big difference in terms of muscle tissue. So I was told to come down. Now, remember, I was doing keto with that current coach. So I wasn't thinking that we were deflating, that we weren't being able to keep that fullness to the muscle. So I go in, I text John, I get in with John. Well, here John brings the bodybuilder out of me. I am in women's physique. I'm in the wrong division. So I actually had full muscle bellies. Like, I actually, fit more of a bodybuilder protocol, and I show up and I do women's physique. And I got 7th. I think it was out of 25 girls, which was still honorable, for me coming down at that level. Definitely out of place. Definitely didn't feel like a home, but I did take the gamble, because I'm up for the challenge. I'm up for anything. Don't just stay with one thing because it's working. Just make a change. Let's see what if it does it. If it doesn't, then we'll go back. Yeah. But after that, John was with me. He texted me while I was at the house, and he goes, "What's the address of your show?" And I was like, "Are you seriously coming?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm coming." And so I got him a backstage pass, and he wore that thing like it was first place of a pro show, everywhere. he had the time of his freaking life. And I remember him coming up in my room and he's like, this is a really odd question. He's like, but do you have a hairbrush? Because I didn't bring one. I'm like, okay, you can have it. You can have it. And he would text me, be like, can I come hang out with you guys? I'm like, what do you think I'm going to say? Like, no. So we hung out, we drank, like we had a ball like after the show, and everybody says he had the time of his life there. And then right after that, he was gone. And I was like, I got a phone call from Caroline, and I was actually on the motorcycle at the time, and I couldn't figure out why she was calling me, and it was so urgent. So we pulled off and came home, and I just tears, waterworks, like, cause I just talked to him the night before, because that's when Brooke won. And I was texting him, she's going to take it. And he's like, do you really think so? And I said, yeah. And that was the last message I sent. So if you looked on his Instagram, the last post that he made was a Brooke Walker, but it was a screenshot from the one I sent him because my picture's at the bottom. So it was just, it hit hard. And I only knew him for 6 months, but I felt like it was 6 years. But he just, to have him with me for that one last time. I mean, I am thankful, and I'm just so thankful nothing happened whenever he was with me, because I don't think I could live with that. So I took the rest of the year off. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing anything more. I can't move on. I lost somebody that I got really, really close with for a short period of time, and I just thought it's over, so I just backed off.
Yeah. It hit a lot of people hard, but I mean, same, I told Brooke that I said, I had like 2 weeks where I just was like, I don't even know, this is not like people are replaceable, but he was so irreplaceable. Like he's just such a pillar of this whole industry. But what did it
I did text Brooke right after, and I said, like, if you need help with prep or anything, or need to reach out, talk to me. Same thing with Sunny Andrews. I was talking to her. I got to know all these girls and like this team of, people that he had, and we all became like really, really close, and I told Brooke, I said, the same thing you just did, you need to do again. You know what I mean? Because it worked, so it was just, we would communicate, back and forth. And then I actually got a call from Gary Udit. They wanted a list of names of people that were really, really close to John. And we did a tribute video at the Northern Americans that year. And he texted me and he's like, I'm telling you right now, I can't even watch these. He's like, this is just way too hard for me to even watch, so it was just, but it needed to be done. He deserved it and it needed to be done.
Yeah. I saw that video that you had posted, and I think that was when, I've been following you for a long time, but I thought, we got to get Theresa on the podcast.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I was excited because I just saw you just posted Brooke. So I was like, oh, she's on a roll now.
Absolutely. Well, and this is one of the things that I had admired about John. I had actually was going to reach out to him. I haven't had any men on the podcast yet, but he was on my list of somebody that I had really, just because the information is just for everybody, So I had the
you would need 24 hours for that conversation.
I know. Oh my gosh. Like I'm so thankful that he has, his YouTube channel is still up. You can find answers to anything. And I know that information is going to be, it's not dated. He researched, he was very relevant. So
him and my fiance after the show, he came up in the room and we just talked. I mean, it was probably midnight. I had a photo shoot at like 5 a.m. or whatever, but we just like talked, and they talked old school, and the conversation that those two were having, I just sat out of, and I let them go because it was just something that he can't usually talk, to people about, that actually understand it. And I even said to my fiance, I was like, did you ever think you were going to go to breakfast with John Meadows? Because they left me in my room, to get ready, and they each had nothing to do. So they just went down and got breakfast together, but he was just too down to earth, like he was who he was. He never put it in anybody's face. And he would take any picture with anybody. He would give any information. He would help anybody in the gym. Like he was just a real person.
Yeah. And always just like normal when he was doing it all, you know what I mean? It was just chill. John Meadows was just always, Yep. Like everybody's dad. He was like everybody's.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But then the first day we went to his house, literally after we were done training, Like he asked me, he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, we were just going to head home. I mean, we had a 3-hour drive." He's like, "Oh, just come into the house." And I'm getting in a car and keep my mouth shut. And I looked at Jeff. I'm like, "We're going to John's house." Like, this is really, really crazy. And we followed him the whole way to his house. And then he walked in the front door. And I remember looking at Jeff and I'm like, "I need to take my shoes off, like, or whatever." And John was gone. Like, I don't even know where he went. He's like, "I'm over here." And I'm like, "Dude, I'm not just going to like walk through your house." Like, it was literally like we knew each other forever, and it was just like he introduced us to the dog. And then I met, Mary and the kids. And it was so welcoming, so welcoming,
Yeah. What does that tell you about, like, what kind of person that you want to be,
I mean, it's just, the same thing, like anybody, like he was, and there's been videos and they'll tear me up because I can see his face. I want to be legendary. You know what I mean? Like, I want to be someone in the sport. I want people to know who I am, and I want to know that I can help people. There's nothing really out there negative about me, and I'm not a negative person. I will reach down and pull someone up. That's just how I am. That's how I was just taught. And that's who I am. It's just who I'm going to be. I mean, so I just want to just make an impact on the sport, be a face, be a name, supportive, and that's just who I want to become, and who I want to continue to be.
Yeah. And we need those people in the sport, because it can go two ways. You either get this celebrity, this accomplish, and then you're too good for everybody, or you get up there and, like you said, you're reaching your hand down to lift everybody else up to get,
because literally 9 out of 10 times these people forget who they are. They just become like Insta famous or whatever. And that's why, like, I have it happen all the time. People come to the gym, they're like, "She is way too humble." Like, you know what I mean? Like, for who I am. I don't care. I'm a human being. I'm a person, and it's just the same thing as like pop stars and singers. They are too. It's just like, they do more and you see them more and stuff. But it's just like, just because you've done something, still inspire. Don't like put your nose in the air on all the people that are so under you, because you were there once too. And you were looking up to someone at some point in time too. So I think that that's just the biggest issue, because everybody thinks about me all the time, and that's literally all what these social medias and Instagrams and TikToks and everything else is, instead of like actually come back down to reality, help others around you type thing, or it's who can get me ahead, who can I network that I can ride their tailcoat feathers, the whole way in, it's not that we grind, you know what I mean? Do the hard work and just grind your way in.
Yeah, that's absolutely how it is. Well, and I mean, I can appreciate, you, and I just feel like, I mean, John drew these people to him that were like him, I mean, I said this to Brooke. I said, "Brooke, you are the female version of John Meadows." Realize this. No.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, because like it's like a magnet. And then if you can keep your circle in with those type of positive people, you're going to remain positive, and then just the energy source just becomes stronger and stronger, and then it's like, whenever, I know when Jeff and I walk in a room, like, we can get anybody to smile or laugh, or like, I'm in the grocery store, I feel like I have "talk to me" across my forehead, because I don't walk like I'm an asshole, you know what I mean? Or mean, or like I'm up here. Like, I walk around like every other person, and I don't put myself on this pedestal. So, and we're very, very friendly people. We're very approachable. And I think that that's a problem, nowadays. Like, it's just, people are so afraid to approach anybody. And, I have fans and stuff that will message me, be like, "Can I, take a picture with you? I saw you, so-and-so, but I didn't want to bother you." I'm like, "That's what I'm here for. Take the picture. Don't ask. Don't miss that opportunity." I have people that stop me in the airport and they like, "Oh my God, I follow you on social media." And I'll look at them and I'll be like, "Do you want a picture?" And then we'll take a picture, because it's, people just don't ask anymore,
Well, and I think the last couple of years really undid a lot of our socialness. You know what I mean? People are really got confined to home and what social media was, and forgetting about like real people and real connections. So yeah, it's probably selfishly one of the reasons I love doing this podcast, because I love a one-on-one conversation. And and it's a nice outlet. You feel like, you're more connected to people, and, getting everybody's stories out as well, I think is amazing.
What you're doing is great. It gives everybody the opportunity to to explain who they are, get to know them. We're not just a face behind a screen, on a social media platform. We have, big hearts, big dreams, just like everybody else, and a lot of us want to help other people, so this has given us the opportunity to have a voice, not just a picture.
Yeah. And everybody has a story. That's what's fascinating to me is just, everybody's story, unique, but so many similarities,
Yep.
through them all as well.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, we all want to win. You know what I mean? We're all competing. We all want to win those trophies and stuff. So our goal as a whole is all the same, but how we got there is so different and diverse.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very cool. So what's going on with you now? You are still kind of in a, have you decided about plans for this year?
We so I got a new coach and he laughed at me because I screwed his name up. I can't even say his name, but we are going to do New York Pro. So that's our goal. So I think it's close to like 19 weeks, 20 weeks, somewhere around there. It's May 21st. That's what we're kind of aiming for. We started off pretty heavy with the food that I couldn't even eat because it was so freaking much, but it's just the method. Again, it's a whole different method, a whole different coach, a new outlook on things. And we're really going to just tighten up on things, like I'm growing my legs. I'm getting more equal and balanced with his programs, and I'm super excited to work with him. And he's done a lot with a lot of female bodybuilders now. So he's creating, as Steph just posted, an army of muscle. So I'm curious to see how the year, will go. He just had Mela win, I think it was Toronto Pro. Hella got second, at the Olympia. So, but he's been a phenomenal coach. He's on it. He gets you your stuff right away, makes the dietary changes, and just good communication overall. So I'm really excited for this year.
Who is the person that's coaching you?
I think I always say Hassan Nassar. I have no idea how you say his name, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yes.
I told him to spell it out for me, and then he texts back. He's like, "How about you just voice it over to me?" I'm like, "How about after I'm done training?" Because I wasn't going to, because he wanted to hear it, and I said it's bad. It's the same thing like we talked about. You need to like spell that out so I can say it right.
So funny. It is the worst. I butchered so many names on here too, especially like right after people tell me, and I was like, yeah, that didn't click. So
no. You have to say it like 10 times before you actually get it to say like, okay, that's what it is.
I know.
Yeah.
Being real, I don't know, how to say your name.
Yep. Nobody does though. I guarantee you that if you butcher it, probably 10 other people butchered it too. That's okay.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, that's really exciting. So what's your training split looking like right now? So you're working more on, are you working on more lower body, or is this more like kind of how things are set while you're going into prep?
It's more of like, it's a push, pull, and legs,
Yep.
and take a day off, and then go back at it. Now I'm one of those people that I need designated days. So like it is a 3-day split and you're supposed to be off and then another 3 days. I don't like having a surprise when I'm training. So I like knowing that I have 2 full days off so I can structure around them. So I'll usually take Wednesdays and Saturdays off, and I will just keep running it, and just put those days in those spots. It's just a lot of different like negative, positive band work, body parts that we need to bring up, that kind of case, very similar to kind of what John would do. He would just look at you as a whole and say, what do we need to fix? What do we need to bring up? So he addresses it, and then we make the changes as we need to, so we can get, the body to tie in as a whole.
Yeah. Is it something that you've ever struggled with? Like when you get to a point on the pro or, the pro level where it really is, fixing, bringing up body parts. Now you have to give up like just the love of training because not giving up training, but you might have to give up training what you love. Because a lot of times our strong body parts are what we love to train, right?
Yep. I've really heavily, back then it was just like, all or nothing, never really paid attention to that. And I think that now, like at a pro level, that's where like most need to gear towards. You need to look at your pictures, you need to look at them and see what are you missing and what you need to, address and fix. Now, my chest develops ridiculous. And I can honestly say I haven't done anything for chest at all. shear at all, so we pretty much backed off because you're going to hit it, regardless when you do the triceps and stuff, but it's just not something that's needed. Did I like training it? Absolutely. It was one of my better assets, but you don't need it as a whole. So you have to tone down the things that you don't need to actually bring the ones up, because a lot of the times it was like my upper body would grow super, super fast and my legs were always so behind. So then when we started, intermixing, when I had a different separation between the coaches, it was like, okay, now we need to like devolumize, the top half of you, and then really work on bringing these up. So because otherwise you weren't going to be able to match it. You weren't going to be able to bring the legs up to match the bigger upper body that I had. So you had to find that balance to tone the one down to bring these up to match.
Yeah. I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, at the beginning, people will talk about like, I know this is something John Jewett always says, because guys always be like, I need bigger arms. And he's like, you need bigger everything. Like first you do get everything, and then you start to figure out what's not growing. And then you start doing your tactics of, does that mean I need to hit it more? Does it mean I need more volume? Does it mean I need to be more effective? Does it mean exercise selection? There's so many, variables, but
I think a lot of it though too, that I've learned was the lack of stretching and mobility and allowing more room for blood flow in the legs that weren't letting them grow, because they stayed tight all the time and they weren't able to move. Like they were like jammed up and they're like, this is all you're getting. So now it's like I try to, do the foam rolling. I have deep tissue massages going at least like twice, maybe sometimes 3 times a month. Plus, you got those Theraguns, and I have other stretching devices and stuff, but you have to, or they're never going to grow. They're never going to grow.
Yeah. Breaking up a lot of that scar tissue and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that type of recovery and mobility stuff that people, they tend to put it off until there's a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then you're like, I can't move. Yeah. My hamstrings are too tight, but then it's like I'm always rushed. So it's like, I never have time to stretch before I do legs. Like, cause you're literally on a clock and it's like, I got to get in there and I got to get this down because we got to go do something. And then you don't allow that extra time for the most important part of it, Yeah.
I just recently started putting like a stretch, doing like, after you do like your legs or your quads, and you do like a stretch after that, like you do leg extensions and then come off into a stretch. Yeah. That kind of, you're like, oh my gosh, this hurts like a son of
yeah. If I don't do stretching in the beginning, that's when I usually get it. And it hurts. And then you try to stretch more and it hurts.
With the blood flow and everything, you're like.
Yeah, and then your next set, after you go into the next set, that even is 10 times harder. So you got to pack the weight down because you can't do it. Oh yeah.
So much fun. So, well, oh my gosh, Theresa, this is really, really great talking.
Thank you for having me on the show though. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. We should have you come on to Chick Chat and you can hang out with the girls.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. That would be so great. So, hey, you want to do a couple of quick, we'll do a couple of quick fun questions. You have time for this? Okay. Yeah. Well, the question I always ask, I forgot to ask at some point, but what is your least favorite and your most favorite thing about social media?
I would say my favorite thing about it is connecting with people around the world. Because that's something that, we didn't have the opportunity back then. So you're reaching out. I mean, most of my people are fans from in the UK and South Africa. I was actually on People's Magazine and Best Magazine in South Africa and the UK. So I'm much bigger over there than I actually am over here. I think the worst thing that I don't like about social media is the fact that people can hide behind the keyboard and just express how they feel towards you. And if it's like to the point, like it goes back to that saying, Mom used to teach you, if you don't have anything nice to say, then don't say anything at all. Because sometimes in the very beginning, I took a lot to heart. There's been many nights that I was crying because there was no reason for people to crucify me for living my dreams. So it was blocking them out. I mean, I allow the platforms on there now. Usually if I might get 1 or 2 bad ones, I'll wipe them out. Or if it's really, really bad, I don't even give them a chance and they're blocked, because I don't need you on my page. I don't need my page to be known as, a negative type page. So I just get rid of them.
Yeah, the block button it's huge. I mean, have you ever had people message you or email you, please unblock me?
They make a new profile. Yeah.
I've gotten emails. I think that I didn't mean what I said. I'm just like, I don't care.
I've had, or yeah, I said, you got one chance and you screwed it up. So I'm like, you go come back. No. My list is really long.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, I had a friend of mine that was like, this is my blacklist. And I'm like, it just goes. It just goes.
Yep. I'm very proud of that.
They probably have a whole group. It's probably on Reddit or something that there's like a hate page or something.
Yeah.
I just recently, I don't even know how I came across it, but there was a Reddit page that I was up, and then people were like, they had put up my picture. Is she natty or is she juicing? And then all of it, like what?
I people were screenshotting mine. I had a couple of them on there too. They're like, oh, you made it. You're on Reddit.
One of the comments, some guy just goes, I just want to see her titties.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's blunt. I mean, like seriously, like you don't even think before you type, you just put it out there. I mean, it's bad.
I'm like, dude, there's a whole internet full of titties that are.
Yeah. Oh, I know. That's like I posted something on TikTok and it was just me posing. It was the one that it just literally posed from the front to the back. And I was in my posing suit and I was in the bathroom. It got friggin' like banned for like nudity and sexual content. So I went out and I fought it and I'm like, girl, there's girls twerking in less than me. You know what I mean? And all I'm doing is I'm in a posing suit. They end up putting it back on there, but I already reloaded it anyway.
So
yeah.
Most of when I post, like I'll put together a picture collage for YouTube, and I can't do any back shots of the girls on stage because they say that there's nudity. I can't, there's no, you're not like not been able to, like I remember specifically I had Kira's back shot from when she won Chicago Pro when I had interviewed her. And within like 20 minutes it got pulled down. I'm like, so I don't even do, it's like you can't even put a back pose up there.
No.
They think you're in a thong.
That's just so bad. So bad. I mean, I'll fight it. I mean, I've always put a fight in, or I'll dispute the ones with the songs because I'll put them on social media. I'll put them on Instagram and then like I'll do the repost and I'll put it on my Facebook page. And then my Facebook page will get flagged. So I dispute it. And I say, by the way, I was like, this was actually from Instagram's songs that you offered me that were reposted, and then they'll let it go.
Yeah. I don't understand that because I've had that same thing on, because you can't have your gym music playing too loud because then you're copywriting gym music, So I'll use the same music from theirs, but then they'll be like, it's like, this is your music.
Yep. Oh yeah. They did that to me on YouTube. I actually just went through it, spent a whole day, and they flagged like certain things on there, which you couldn't get momentumized for it. You know what I mean? So I went in, all these artists, I disputed one, and it was like literally 30 seconds of something. So and the artist said, no, it was theirs. I'm like, well, you ain't making money off of me no more. So I went in and I wiped out all the songs and replaced them with what they had to offer. So I can fix it now. I mean, I literally went in and chopped out every artist that I had on there that was making money off of my video, and I just got rid of it. So I make the money.
It sucks because, if you try to go back and look at, like, I remember specifically because I think it was probably around 2018 or so, I was looking for, Sean Roden did a posing routine at, I think it was like the Arnold, it was one of the foreign Arnolds, and it was the most beautiful posing routine, but it got pulled off of YouTube because of the music. And it's just like, you are either they either remove the music or they remove the whole video. And it's like, these are legendary things that we will never be able to see because because artists are like, that's my song. And it's like, yeah, but it's advertising for your song. Like you should do shit,
Yeah. Mine got uploaded by a company that was posting. I Google myself and I'm everywhere on YouTube. Like all these people are using my stuff, and the one was posted and it was muted. Like my whole song was just muted and it was just me. And I'm like, well, that kind of kills the whole mood. You know what I mean? Because it was a very strong song to that, and it just looks weird. It's weird.
Yeah, when you, I mean, the posing routines, yes, the song is it's like what brings it to life. Or
Yep.
like when you get the like girls doing their fitness routines and the
Oh
music,
my God, yeah.
like,
Yep. Now they're just jumping in the air to either some random background music and nothing matches. It looks really weird. Yeah, it's bad.
going to a silent circus or something, you're like,
Yeah. Yeah,
like,
it's so strange. It is so odd.
yeah, but
I feel like in something like that, there should be some type of an exception, because technically, okay, if we are a professional sport, no different than NBA or whatever, they use songs. So why is the IFBB, NPC, Olympia not allowed to use music?
yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks though. It's just like another element preventing the promotion of the sport, I
Oh,
think.
yep. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, sucks. What's your biggest gym pet peeve?
I think I just talked about this today with my fiance, like, because we have our own gym or whatever, and it's just like you can lift weights without slamming them. You know what I mean? Because I'm a girl and I can put my, you know what I mean? Like if I'm going heavy, I can like deload my weight, like, in a chest press or whatever without dropping them on the floor, like manhandling the weight that you can't use. So we were in the office the one day and it was like, anybody ever tell you like sit in a restaurant and just pay attention to the background music, or not the music, just the sounds,
Okay.
that take the different things. So we were sitting in the office the one day and we were just trying to pay attention just to the sounds of gyms. It was like everybody and their mother was slamming shit that day. It was like out of control, but that's literally what it was. But they're just letting it go, or they're just dropping the dumbbells on the floor. I mean, that to me is just because I own the gym too. It's just the etiquette from, like we're there. Don't do it in front of us. Like this is your stuff. We bought this stuff for you guys to use. Don't break it.
Yeah. That's really funny. Well, and the more I learn more about, I mean, I get it for some things, like you might have to kind of set stuff down hard, like you coming off a chest press or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for the most part, this is what we're learning more too. It's just like, yeah, you really need to control the weight if you want to not hurt yourself.
It's bad. All you do is like, they'll be mid-set. They'll just let it go. I mean, but it's the same people every day. It just doesn't stop. So that's why. That's my pet peeve.
That's a good one. That's a good one. What is the best and the worst thing about prep?
I would say probably the best thing about prep is obviously the result. Keeps you motivated and, you see more and then you just want to like stay on that. I think the worst part is just the types of food you end up having to eat, because I am not a fish person and that just gags me, but I know what I have to do because my body like will not change if I don't eat it. But it's terrible. You know what I mean? And you try everything you can to like not eat that food. So I I don't mind eating. It's just like the types of food that you end up having to eat. It's just bland, it's plain, it's nasty. So that would be like the two. Just the results are good. Like I want those, but I don't want to eat like fish.
Are you a big foodie person? Like in your off season or your improvement season, do you do a lot of like macro matching or eating whatever you want within parameters?
Right now we're kind of balanced because like I had blood work done and like the kidney and livers, they were elevated. So I really don't have a lot of fat, in the diets, but we do have like a lot of pineapple. We have a lot of cream of rice, regular jasmine rice, and like it's more like just chicken and eggs and shakes. That's literally all my protein sources right now.
Yeah.
We did have some macadamia nut, or oil in there. We just removed that and we're just going with the whole eggs. But I don't have like any beef right now, no.
Okay. All right. No, like, cheeseburgers.
Nope. There was never a refeed in my diet yet. So I haven't seen one of those.
Are you in a deficit right now? Like you've officially started your prep?
We have been working together like for, oh my God, when did I start with him? Probably a good 2 months now, with I think like, and that's very important, because now he knows my body. He had the food, nothing really changed food wise. It was just, let's load you. I mean, and I think this is where people like don't do it right. They load for all the wrong reasons. They put the calories up so high and they're getting it from like Wendy's and, just junk that's actually mixed with bad oils, and things that can make you heavy, where we did a load on cleaner foods. And now all it is just like stripping them down and just slowly bringing yourself down. But he did say to me this time, he's like, you are going to be fed. So there's not going to be a deficit. I mean, the last previous coaches, I remember being almost 800 calories. I mean, I was like literally dying. I mean, there's just what I was eating, but that's why I don't think I was remaining as full. But he said, no, you're going to be eating. So I'm like, that's good.
That makes it a lot better too. I mean, even just being full and being able to get a pump when you go into the gym is like psychologically helps keep you going as well.
Yep. Because this peak week or whatever, or the week before, you're like a zombie, and you're like me. Like, I like to lift, and I like to put all into my lifting. And when I have a really bad lift day, that makes me mad. And it stresses me out, and I know I could be better, but there's nothing I could do because my body is just like tapped out at that point.
Yeah.
But you have to have a thing with yourself, like knowing, hey, you're doing this for not today. You're waiting until Saturday. It'll all come together. Just let it go.
And sometimes you tell yourself too, it's like, well, we're trying to keep the muscle. We're not trying to build muscle right now. So, minimum effective dose, what we're capable of doing, it's totally fine.
Yep.
It's a lot of like, you're okay.
It's mental. It's a lot of mental, like cheerleading talk to yourself, every day.
Oh, fantastic. Let's see. If you weren't, that's interesting. If you weren't bodybuilding, what would you be doing? What do you think if you'd ever caught that train?
I mean, so lately, and we've been hammering the gym business. I did not finish college. I canned out on that like a while ago. I did all my regular classes, then it was all those elective, and I didn't want anything to do with that. But I am like just entrepreneur, like learning, expanding, building the gym, helping others, like, and just doing, it's still fitness industry related. It's just like you would back off competing and really focus on getting your gym, up and running, possibly franchising it and stuff like that. So it's more of like the business side, because I'm not one that I could sit back and kick my feet up. If I'm not doing something like every second of the day, then I feel like I'm bored, because I'm just a go kind of person. But anything wise, I think I would heavily be in.
That's awesome. Yeah. Having a gym, obviously doing your coaching, something you're going to be able to do for a long, long time. That's really, really great.
Yep.
Yeah. I was going to say heels or sneakers, but I think we know the answer to that.
It's like when you need to dress up and you got to put those things on, there's a minimum time frame on those things, because then they got to come off. It hurts my feet.
I know it's painful being a woman.
Yep. You want to look nice, but it's like you want to just like wear a long dress, put slippers on or something.
Well, it's like trendy now. Like, I mean, like my daughter has had several, dances and whatnot in the last year, and she'll wear sneakers, or she'll wear her combat boots with her pretty dress or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like kids can get away with that a lot more. Like, can you imagine?
Yep. Oh no, that wouldn't fly with us. No, that would definitely not fly with us. Kids, yes, it would. Yeah. Not today, not with us.
You like go to a wedding, you're like in this elegant gown, and then, Converse.
You got boots on. Or Uggs or something like that.
Would totally do that. I know a lot of people do this with their weddings after the ceremony. For like the reception, is to put comfortable shoes on under their dress. Like I even did that for my wedding. So yeah,
that's probably definitely a must.
Yeah, I mean, my wedding didn't last, but I don't think it was because of the shoes.
A little too much booze. That's why you don't wear heels afterwards.
It's really funny. What is your favorite body part to train?
I'd say shoulders. I've always liked shoulders. I mean, it's an easy movement, and then mine develop, pretty easy. You always get a good pump, but I like working shoulders.
Yeah. What does a shoulder look like? Shoulder workout look like for you?
So I like, most people will neglect the rear delts. So that's one thing that I definitely like to do. And John really liked to do those too. So I always have them in, but I like to hit, anytime I train, I like to hit body parts from all angles. So like any kind of pressing movement, a side lateral movement, and a rear delt movement, and if you really feel like it, putting like some front raises or Y raises in there. But that's usually like how I'll dictate the shoulder day.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah, I agree very much. As far as starting with a side lateral or even like a rear, a lot of times on a back day, I'll start with a rear
Yeah.
movement
Yep.
as well.
I'll put them like a pull day too, doing the rear delts there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're neglected. Yeah, I don't think you can. And if you do, like I do pull legs push. So I'm able
Mhm.
to mix up my upper a little bit with, back and shoulder movements.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
very cool. Well, what is your, final message that you want to share with the women that are listening? Any last words?
I think like just anything in life that, you want to do, or you have a vision or a dream, to do, to go do it, and there's going to be a lot of people, whether they're family members, friends, or whatnot, that might not see it the way that you want to, but it's your life and you need to live it, because at the end of the day, like you want to be satisfied, you want to live with no regrets, and just take every chance and every risk that you possibly can. And I think the most important thing that I've been, preaching more likely this year is just don't get comfortable, because there's a whole world to see out there and it won't come to you. So you have to do, whatever you can to go chase dreams, and that's pretty much what I live by every single day.
I love that. I love that. Theresa, where can people find you if they want to follow you and support you?
So my IG is T Ivancik _ IFBB Pro. And then I'm also on YouTube under Theresa Ivancik, IFBB Pro. And Facebook's just Theresa Ivancik. And my website, theresaivancik.com.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, everybody, thanks for listening, watching to another episode of the Women's Fittest. You can find me on Instagram at buffcake22. You can follow the podcast on Instagram at the Women's Fittest, and search us on any podcast platform. And to remember that healthy looks different on everybody. Have a great day. Thanks, Theresa.
Oh, thanks so much. I appreciate it.